All right, our rulers are stored in this drawer in the art room. It says rulers. It's back here on the back counter. So you're gonna grab your own ruler. Our rulers are made out of metal, which is not my favorite because once they're bent, they're kind of bent forever. So you want to make sure that you're being really kind to the ruler, not wiggling it or bending it in a curve or anything like that. Since they are metal, they can be a little bit sharp on the edges. So just being really mindful and responsible with our rulers. All right, I'm ready to begin by creating the grid for my superhero grid drawing. I've chosen a superhero, and I want you to notice that your drawing paper fits perfectly over top of this rectangle. That's on purpose so that your grid drawing matches the printout. And you're first going to start by just scooching your paper down a little bit, making sure the sides are lined up with the rectangle lines so I can see it's touching both sides. And I'm just going to make a little dash on my drawing paper that lines up with the dashes or the cubes on the printout. I'm going to do that on the bottom as well. Making sure it's again lined up with the sides. That's important. Otherwise my squares will not be squares. They will be diamonds and trapezoids and not helpful for our drawing. Now I'm doing the sides and make sure that my paper is touching the outer line of the rectangle printout. Just making light pencil dashes on my paper, not drawing on the printout because all 4th grade and all 5th grade use these same superhero printouts, so we're not going to draw on them at all. And my last side. And then I'm just going to play a little connect the dot with my ruler. So I can move my printout out of the way as I do connect the dot with my ruler. And my ruler is going to touch my left dot and my right dot, and I'm going to draw a light pencil line. These pencil lines will be erased, so the lighter the better. As long as you can see the pencil line, but it's lightly drawn, that's what matters. So touch one side, make sure my ruler's touching the other side, holding my ruler still so it doesn't wiggle on me as I draw across. So I've drawn all of my horizontal lines. Now I prefer to rotate my paper so my ruler is horizontal again, and now I will connect the vertical lines, so my top to bottom of my paper, and do the same thing all the way across, making sure I remember to push lightly. All right, I've completed my grid. My grid squares match my printout squares, so I for sure have the right amount of squares and they're the correct size. Now it's time to create a viewfinder with a strip of paper. And for this step, I need my superhero, I need one paper strip, and then I prefer to glue it when I'm done so that it stays in one piece. So my goal is to make a little square on the inside of this paper. So I'm going to fold this paper to make a viewfinder. So I'm going to first make a 90-degree angle, and I'm going to use one of these squares to measure the size of my square on the inside. So I'm going to fold this down and make a 90-degree angle with this corner right here. Crease, make sure it's lined up with my square. Now I'm going to fold this edge this direction, make a 90-degree angle, make sure it lines up with my square so it's not smaller or bigger. Crease, and finally one more to end the shape. And crease. Now I'm going to move my superhero out of the way because remember, other kids use this. I don't want to get glue on it. I'm going to put some glue stick just on this one spot and glue it down. Make sure it's nice and creased. And this will be used to help me focus on just one square at a time rather than feeling overwhelmed with this whole drawing, thinking, how am I going to get this onto my paper? That might be overwhelming. You might not be sure where to start. But this way I can just start with one square and make my way to the side and down. All right, so I'm ready to start drawing. This is the fun part. So my goal is to work one square at a time and transfer it onto my paper. And I'm trying to make it match this grid. So I'm gonna look at where my first square starts. So I can actually go 1, 2, 3, 4 squares over. That's where my first mark is. So these 3 squares are empty for me. So I'm going to square number 4, and I'm using my viewfinder to figure out what I need to draw in that square. This one is super simple. It's just a tiny line on the bottom. So now I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4 to match. And I'm just going to draw that tiny line, and I'm going to look where does it intersect with the bottom of the square and the side of the square so that I can do the same thing over here. So I see it starts here, goes this direction, and now I'm going to scooch to the right. Square number 5, I'll draw this shape that I'm seeing, scooch over again, and now I start to get into some interesting details. So this superhero has some reflection on her black hair, so I'm going to draw that shape. I'm not going to worry about coloring in the black today. That will be with Sharpie another day. Scooching over. Notice I'm holding my viewfinder down as I'm drawing with the other hand, and I'm also holding my paper down to make sure it's steady. These squares are empty, so now I'm going to come back to the left. 1, 2, 3. So I'm on the second row now, looking at where it touches the side and other side, and I will do my best to match that. Some more reflections, and so on.